All right, everybody. This is the MMA Junkie Radio pre-show, the show before the show. We'll be starting in about 90 seconds. And, yeah, it's last edition of the week. Friday, February 16th, here at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. You know, it's cool because we'll talk some MMA today, but we'll also talk a little bit of boxing. This weekend there's a big fight in town. Danny Swift Garcia will take on Brandon Bam Bam Rios in a welterweight matchup where I believe the winner will get a possible shot at the title. And, you know, so I've been seeing a lot of boxing royalty around. They also announced the 2018 Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame class. So I saw Al Bernstein, Paulie Malignaggi, Ernie Shavers, Shane Mosley, lots of others walking back and forth. And so it's been a really, really fun week having some boxing here at the event center. And, of course, on our docket, we have Bellator 194 tonight, as well as UFC Fight Night 126 on Sunday night. That's right, Sunday night. We've said that quite a few times.
Coming up in 30.
So guess who the big dummy is if you made plans on Sunday and then on Saturday when you go to watch, you see there's no MMA, you're going to feel like a fool because I know we've done our part. We've had quite a few fighters on the show who are fighting on the card, and we've gone out of our way to say it's on Sunday. 9 Eastern for the main card, 6 Pacific. So we're going to start here in about 5 seconds. Myself and Dan Tom. Goes is on vacation. We'll be with you in just a sec.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Daniel Chiesa!
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and oh, he's not here. Dan Tom is here. He's to my left. He's the fight analyst. Goes is actually on vacation today, and back east, it's Danny Otto handling all the producing duties. Of course, nice to see the site coordinator, Randy from San Francisco, chilling with us as well. What's going on, man? How you doing? Ooh, you okay, Dan?
Yeah.
What was that? Laughter?
Just a little bit too much of an extension on the point.
Oh, okay.
And I felt it in the stomachio, the stomach.
So
but I'm good.
You're looking forward to a couple days off of just chilling.
I'm looking forward to sleeping in tomorrow. I'll say that. It'll be a quick turn the page because tomorrow I'm already getting ahead for the fight card after.
The following week. All right, next week we have
Emmett versus Stevens. UFC
Orlando.
takes no breaks, kids. The UFC takes no breaks.
And then the following week is here in Vegas.
That's right, man. That's right.
And then the week after that is 2 weeks later is London. Is there something in between?
I think so.
Or do we catch a 2-week break with the UFC?
But it's a solid weekend of combat sports in front of us, though. I mean, not to get too far ahead. I mean, we got the boxing. You said boxing Saturday, Bellator tonight, and of course, a nice Sunday card. Which I don't know about you, George. How you feel about the Sunday cards? But I don't mind them.
I don't mind them at all. I don't mind a Tuesday card. I don't mind a Thursday card. I don't mind anything. Throw it my way. The more, the merrier.
Yeah.
There are times where it'll just run into a portion of my life where I'm consumed by other things, and you'll just have to take a break, catch a few fights on some sort of a replay or in demand. you just can't get to it all and lead a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I just know that it's healthy for our website, healthy for the radio show, and there's a lot of fans that could care less about other sports, and they will see every single fight that's out there. You know, last week I was here, and I think I was reading off to you guys what I saw on Shergog, ACB, KSW, Shudo this, Shudo that. So there's a ton of MMA that's out there. Some of it you can catch on the UFC Fight Pass, and some of it you just got to go out there and dig. All right, so on today's show, we are expecting Michael Chiesa to be in studio here with us for the first hour. And surprisingly, I haven't seen him. He seems like a responsible chap. So hopefully he pops through soon. And in the second hour, we're expecting another in-studio guest, Angel Garcia from the boxing world. He's a character. Now, I may not say this in front of him, but somebody asked me, what's the best way you can describe him? And I'd say, well, he's the LeVar Ball of boxing, except I believe, well, I know for certain he was LeVarin before LeVar.
Yeah, right.
You know, so LeVar is actually the Angel Garcia of basketball. Angel Garcia has been at the side of his son, Danny Swift Garcia, who's been a boxing world champion in 3 different weight classes for, since birth. Since the age of 5, I believe, he started boxing in North Philly. And so they've been together for a long time. And when Garcia fights, it's really fun because Angel just is a character, man. So the press conferences, any form of interviews or open workouts, if he's there, he's a quote a second. So I know how the boxing world works. They're busy and they don't know us as well. I saw him 2 times and he confirmed he'd be here, but I don't know. We haven't had the best of luck lately. By the way, Brian Caraway apologizes. He's scheduled to be here next Tuesday. So there you have it. We'll just cross our fingers. We'll do the best we can here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Either way, we're stuck with you. You're stuck with us for 2 hours, and there's lots to talk about. I have the most current odds here for UFC Fight Night 126. They don't have Bellator, Dan. I didn't see any.
Negative, huh?
Yeah.
Not even the main event, huh?
You'd think the Grand Prix would sneak in there.
I can, if you want, I can pull up some online odds if you'd like.
Well, we'll be all right. I just figured maybe we'd run up there and do our par.
And
our underdog par.
The old Bellator with it. I got you.
Yeah, because isn't Nelson the dog?
He is, man.
And I think we all liked him, right?
And that's the thing, to be honest, not to tip my hand too soon here, but I'm on a lot of chalk on the UFC card. But I'm on a couple of dogs on this Bellator card, and I think I looked at your staff picks there too, Gigi, and you're on some dogs on the Bellator card too, eh?
Yeah, I think
Aside from Nelson, right?
Yeah, I mean, when they asked us for it about a week and a half ago, I jumped on it quick.
Okay.
So I don't even think I looked at the odds when I did it. I just gave him the results of who I wanted. But if that means Campos, is he an underdog to Frady?
He is, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, he was a popular underdog
He's been
pick.
fighting really well lately.
Yeah, he has been, and I thought the odds would be a little tighter because of that, but they weren't. So I don't blame people for picking Campos. I did pick Fury, but I'm also on a Nemkov, and I guess I was the only guy on him. He's the Russian cat, Fedor's training partner, young guy coming up, but he's facing Liam McGeary. So it's a tightly lined match. The odds makers are giving him respect. I think he's only like a plus 110 dog. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't a huge dog. Like, I'm not going out on a limb here, but he's definitely a guy to watch. In fact, the main card write-up I did for Junkie, I labeled it that, a dark horse to watch for him, because I actually like this kid. Light heavyweight could use some young talent in any of the organizations right now.
I agree. With Frady, I got stung really hard when he beat Henderson.
Oh yeah, the split.
And surprisingly, it's not like I can watch the fight and go, "Oh, that was a robbery" or anything like that. I thought they could have given it to Henderson that night.
Right.
But when they gave it to Frady, I was not shocked one bit. Frady, I just believed he was Patricio Frady light, or generic Patricio Frady. Somebody was described that way the other day. I think it was Douglas DeAndrade da Silva or something like that. Was
John Lineker light.
John Lineker light, yeah. And so a version of that. But the other Pitbull brother fought well, man, and he's no slouch. But we're forced to make a pick, and so I'm going with Campos in that tonight at Bellator 194 out in Uncasville, Connecticut, and of course Roy Nelson will engage there with Matt Mitrione. Mitrione's the favorite to take it all down. At the very beginning, when they put out odds to see who would win the Grand Prix, it was supposed to be Mitrione. Now Mitrione's fighting a guy who he lost to about over 5 years ago, and both guys have definitely changed a little bit, quite a bit actually, but I don't know that they've changed that much. I think everyone's just become a little bit more proficient at what they do. Mitrione actually debuted a new level of big kickboxing that night when he fought Nelson, and so he's just been doing well under the guidance of Henry Hoof. Now, if I'm not mistaken, for this camp, he didn't go down to Florida much, if at all. So I don't know what to expect from him, but he's been down there enough that I think he's picked up his system, and it'll really, really be a fun fight to watch, and I really expect somebody to get KO'd.
It's hard not to. I mean, granted, it's 3 and not the 5, so that's less time for the heavyweights to get it done and or get tired and get it done. But I am looking forward to that. But let me ask you, because we both picked Nelson, George, but to be honest, I agreed with the projections of Mitrione being the favorite to win the tournament when it first came out, even though I ended up picking Nelson. What do you say?
Well,
with
because
that?
he had, for one, he had already beaten Fedor, so we knew that he could do okay against him. Now that said, they dropped each other, but yeah, I mean, he's younger than quite a few of them, I believe. He's just a big athletic guy. You know what I mean? He's been fighting well as of late, and even though he does get rocked in his fights, he comes back and gets the finish. So, on the popularity side, you would side with Chael, Rampage, Fedor. There's plenty of guys that are more popular than Mitrione that have more name value, but they didn't come in as the favorites. Mitrione just happened to make the most sense. I think maybe the fact that we haven't really heard of Matt having an assortment of injuries or anything like that, and part of putting your money behind someone like that before a Grand Prix starts is, hey, can he make it through? Can he be healthy and not get subbed by whoever the alternates are?
Right. You know who my dark horse was? Well, I don't know how much of a dark horse. I think he actually came in second as far as who the odds makers was Bader, because that was a guy who
he's pretty durable himself.
Yeah, I mean, if there was kind of a bet where it was like, if there was odds taking numbers on who'd win the whole thing, I was hoping to get maybe some plus money on a Ryan Bader sprinkler, like playing NFL future kind of a thing, kind of a thing. But that's who my 2 cents as far as that goes.
Yeah, nobody would have called you crazy. I mean, he's definitely got some skills. King Mo is his first opponent, and if King Mo can get past Bader, he's had experience fighting bigger guys and being in the tournament format. So I'm sure a lot of people would be happy if they had put their money behind him. All right, so an update on Michael Chiesa is he is on his way, and we expect him very shortly. So the number will be the same as always, 866-522-2846 if you want to call in and chat. Bellator 194, UFC Fight Night 126, or if you have a question for Michael Chiesa. Now, Chiesa's got a fight lined up against Anthony Pettis at UFC 223 in Brooklyn, New York. So this is a big fight for both guys, and this is a big fight on a big stage on what's shaping up to be quite a card. And of course, your headliner that night will be Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov for the undisputed lightweight title. But George, I thought Conor McGregor was the champion. He is. Well, then how can they be fighting for the undisputed title? I don't know. But it was very point blank asked towards the UFC president, Dana White, same way. Wait a minute. How are they going to do this? Are you sure it's not for the interim? He said, no, the winner that night will be the undisputed champion, but you haven't stripped Conor yet. I don't know what his response was, but it was probably something like, we'll get to that, or next question. So what we believe is it'll happen that week, and Conor can then fight fucking Floyd Mayweather or enjoy being a billionaire, or I don't know or Nate Diaz, I guess, is another fight that we feel could and probably will happen at some point. It didn't have to be for a world title, but am I wrong here, Dan? Wouldn't Conor versus Nate for the UFC lightweight title be bigger than Conor versus Nate? That's it, just Conor versus Nate.
Yeah. No.
I mean, either way, it's a big fight. But for the world title, I believe it's bigger.
You are not wrong there, no.
And so what the UFC would have had to put up with is, well, what about Khabib and what about Tony? And maybe they didn't want to go down that road. Or, from what I can tell, I just don't think Conor wants to return to MMA like he's led us believe that he wants to. And he's just enjoying his ride as champion, kind of playing a lot of people. You know what I mean? He said he wanted to fight maybe in December and then maybe in the spring. There was rumors of UFC 222 that he was going to be on that fight card with Nate Diaz. He's not there, and for them to already commit to the fact that the other fight's going to be for the undisputed lightweight title tells me Conor's nowhere close. And if anything, it's because he just doesn't want to fight, or if they're really going to give us Conor versus Floyd in an octagon.
It almost feels like we got two different leagues going on, right? Right, George? I mean, remember Vitor bringing up we should have the Legends League and those arguments? It almost feels like we're having our own, super fight league or these kind of talks like that and whatnot because, now they're talking about, well, maybe we'll just have these quote-unquote money fights match up. That way it won't affect the division and whatnot, but you never really know. All right.
I want to welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Michael Chiesa, UFC lightweight.
Yes, sir.
Man, you're a giant. Let me have you raise your mic just a little bit, please.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more. There you go.
Right there. Good.
I don't know if you guys noticed when we stood up, it looked like I was standing next to a light heavyweight. So you're about 6'2"-ish, maybe?
Yeah, close to 6'2".
Man, and so 155, can you keep doing that, or eventually will it be 170?
I'll go up someday, but, I started my career almost 10 years ago, and my first fight was at 55, and that was when I was 20 years old. So as I've gotten older, I think my body's built a base to where it knows it can go down to 55. And, these last two fights, the cut's actually gotten a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually gotten smart about it with using a nutritionist and a weight cutting coach and stuff. So I think my time at 55, I got a few more good ones left of me at least.
What kind of a setback would it be if you're not in camp and you, Michael Chiesa, go to, let's just say, your buddy's bachelor party for a weekend, and you guys maybe have some beers and some burgers and, I don't know, dessert. I don't know. How big of a setback is it to just what you'd like to maintain 365 days of the year so you can have safe weight cuts?
Well, definitely in the off season, I have to maintain well. You know what I mean? I got a big bone structure. I've been pretty big before.
What do you get to?
The biggest I've ever been was after UFC 157. I had knee surgery 5 weeks before. Gutted the last 5 weeks of my camp out, fought, and then I just took a lot of time off, didn't do anything. I got up to 216.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that was it.
That's like what Johnny Hendricks used to do when he used to get to 220.
Yeah,
or 170.
But at least this is when I had time off and I couldn't train. You know what I mean? So this wasn't like I'm in camp getting double cheeseburgers from McDonald's type thing. It was like, man, I can't train. I got to sit. And that was actually the tough finale for Uriah and Kelvin's season. That's when I stepped on the scale up in the room and was like, whoa. Time to hit the gym, baby.
So that's the commitment it takes to be a pro athlete. I mean, when you retire, you can indulge all you want, have a belly, but for now, you have to pick your spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a great metabolism. My body functions really well. So, as long as I'm eating the right foods and I'm working out, it's easy. I don't really have to sit there and, eat just spinach and air for 8 weeks. I still eat a lot of good food. My weight comes down good, and the cuts get, I might look rough, but the cuts have gotten easier. So,
will the beard always be your thing, or could you ever come in, maybe after like a 9-month layoff or 6-month layoff, just with a new look, kind of like they do in pro wrestling or whatever?
I could. It'd be weird. Somebody was asking me the other day. They're like, if you had to get rid of your beard or your mullet, what would you pick? I was like, it'd be the mullet, dude. I just couldn't see myself fighting without a beard. I've had big ones, small ones, but it's just kind of like.
You enjoy having it, or are you I'm too lazy to shave, or you just enjoy having it?
Oh, I love having it. I live in the Pacific Northwest in the mountains. I live in a cedar log house, so I live the lifestyle where a beard is kind of necessary. So they're nice to have. They're good insulation. They keep the heat, keep you protected from the heat, keep you shielded from the cold. Just keeps that face nice, good, maintained temperature.
All right. And as far as the mullet goes, how long have you rocked that?
Oh, dude, this is
Oh yeah, that's pretty epic.
Nice.
I've had this one for about a year.
Have you?
Yeah. So this is I'm gonna try to go for 2. I'm gonna try to go 2 years, and then I'll take it off and I'll keep it. That's when I'm going to go for the groomed look. I'm trying to get that desk job at Fox. I want to be an analyst, and I want to sit next to Mike.
You would do well.
I want to sit next to Mike Bisping and talk crap. So
to him or
to Bisping? I always watch him on the show, and I'm like, man, I would just love to get in a bickering match with Michael Bisping. It just looks fun.
Is there something that he kind of tends to say that you disagree with? Or?
No, not at all. He just seems like a fun guy to have an argument with.
Yeah, he does. I agree, and I really do think you would do well. I don't know. I think I told you once we had you on the show. It was around March Madness time. and we had some guys that were just casual fans. They just catch the Conor and Ronda fights, and that's it. But they were buddies of mine, firemen, and they came in and they're like, dude, let me know the next time that guy fights. I became a fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I go, he's very well spoken, and he knows how to communicate, when he's talking about his career or the other things he loves to do in life.
Yeah, and the thing is I love the sport. I've been a fan of the sport since I was 13 years old. So I think a big part of being an analyst and being somebody that's going to sit behind the desk and speak knowledge on the sport, you got to genuinely like it. I mean, it can't be a forced thing where you got to be forced to watch fights. You got to be, I'm pretty up to date with everything that goes on in the MMA world, past, prior, present. So it's easy for me to sit and talk about fighting. It's all I know.
Is Fox aware that you'd like to be on the desk, or are you waiting to spring it on them one day?
They're aware. The big thing is like clean up your look kind of thing.
But you'll do it. You stay.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It'll happen. And I'm not saying if I just cut my hair, they're gonna hire me. There's a process. There's a tryout. You got to go do like an audition and stuff. So that doesn't even worry me. I know if they give me the audition, it's game, set, match. I'll land the job. But I'm just focused on fighting right now.
If you and Roy Nelson pass each other, you give yourselves the look, the beard mullet look, like, yeah, hey.
Oh yeah. Some people call me Little Country.
Little Country?
Little Country's in the house.
That's a good one. I like it. And you're probably taller than Roy, now that I think about it.
Yeah, Roy's...
I see him a lot at Extreme, and he's not 6'2", that's for sure.
No, he ain't 6'2". He's like a soft 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said you keep up to date with our sport. So is that just UFC only, or even Bellator, for example?
Oh, everything. Whatever's prominent. I used to spend a lot of time watching like RFA and Legacy when they were separated. I used to watch that religiously. Like Alan Jouban, when I finally met Alan Jouban the first time, and I was like, man, I loved watching RFA fights. He was kind of like, oh, you watch those?
Yeah.
So I enjoy staying up to date with boxing and kickboxing and just combat sports in general. And wrestling. I follow collegiate wrestling a lot.
Well, I've always said RFA and LFC, and now they're LFA together, their main events, the last few years, were almost better, were almost higher level than some of the fights you would see on Fight Pass. And the reason is because the winner was usually getting promoted to the UFC, and so Access TV's, a national channel that a lot of people see, and Fight Pass was just starting to catch some traction.
Yeah, finally starting to gain some momentum.
But if you think about it, Derek Lewis, Holly Holm, Henry Cejudo, Alan Jouban, Zach Makovsky, a lot of those fighters became champions. Now Mackenzie Dern, champions or just big high-profile names through these organizations.
Yeah, now that Corey Sandhagen guy, he's good. He fought my teammate Austin Arnett.
Oh, in Charlotte or something?
In Charlotte, yeah, that guy is legit.
Yeah,
Sandhagen's
really no joke, man. No. He was on Fight Pass. Remember, I came in here going, who's that dude?
Dude,
we had him on the show. He's a real nice guy. He gave respect to his opponent.
Yeah.
Because your guy, it's not like he just folded the 10 and that was it. I mean, he was banging too.
Yeah, Austin. And that's a tough matchup to take on 8 days notice. But Austin's a gamer. I got.
Your guy took it on late notice too.
Yeah, that was 8 days notice. But Austin's tough. He's a gamer. He's been in the sport a long time, so he doesn't waver from any type of competition. But man, I watched film on Corey and was like, yeah, this guy's good. And then once I got ringside and was cornering Austin, that guy is fast. He is fast. That guy's legit. He's legit. I
feel the same way.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into you and Anthony, Michael will be fighting Anthony Pettis, like I mentioned earlier, UFC 223 in Brooklyn, New York on April 7th. Let's get your opinion on Nelson versus Mitrione tonight. That's the main event at Bellator 184. Who do you think wins?
As much as I want to go with Roy, I like Roy personally on a personal level, but just speaking from a statistical standpoint, you got a guy like Matt Mitrione who is a phenomenal athlete. I mean, he would still be one of the most athletic heavyweights in the UFC if he was still signed with promotion today. So I just think athleticism wins that fight. I think Roy, all in all, has a better skill set, being a Renzo Gracie black belt, having the hard overhand right. He's got a good skill set, but I think Mitrione's athleticism is gonna win him that fight.
Mm-hmm. Dude, this guy's like he's on the set right now. That was some pretty good analysis.
Thank you, sir.
He looked very comfortable. And looked at the camera. I liked it.
I was gonna say he's already infectious personality as well. I'm sure that helps when the interviews comes across camera for sure. So yeah, man, impressive package you got going on here, man.
Thank you, sir.
And by the way, I don't know that you'll have to necessarily lose the beard because Tyron's got a beard, right?
Yeah, he's got a little. His might be a little longer than mine at the chin, so I think they should just accept the mullet, accept the beard, just bring me in. You need a different flavor.
You might have to like ponytail it in the back, but
get a little braid or something.
Something.
Yeah, they need some new flavor.
Yeah, all right. So you're on the Mitrione side, and do you think you can take down the whole Grand Prix, or do you have a favorite for the Grand Prix itself?
Well, my favorite for the Grand Prix is none other than the Westland gangster himself, Chael P. Sonnen. Love Chael. But I do see Mitrione being the guy that wins it. I mean, he's got the size, the athleticism, the skill. And if you just look at where he was when he left the UFC, I just think he's the betting favorite.
He was.
He is, yes. So
he was one, and who was two? Bader, right?
Bader
was the second favorite to win the Grand Prix.
Yeah, and that's who I think I would have as the runner-up, because I look at that. They're all great fighters. All 8 guys, they got phenomenal skills in their own right. But I just think that the athletes are going to be the ones that are going to win the tournament. I look at the guys that can move faster. King Mo is up there, but he's a little smaller. But I definitely see Mitrione being the guy that wins it, and Bader would be my choice for the second as well. So I can agree with you on that one.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. And we'll take your calls if you want to call in and give an opinion on any of the fights that are happening this weekend, like Bellator 184, with a headliner of Roy Nelson and Matt Mitrione in that heavyweight Grand Prix. Also, on Sunday, UFC Fight Night 126 with Yancy Medeiros and Cowboy Cerrone. The odds are everywhere. Earlier in the week, you could get, Medeiros at plus 120. Then he came in at minus 105. Now he's back plus 115. So it's going back and forth on Yancy Medeiros, but Cowboy is still holding in as the favorite currently at minus 145. All right, again, we'll be right back after this break. We got Michael Chiesa in the house.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device, and then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. We have Michael Chiesa here hanging out with us in the first hour, and now we want to chat a little bit about Anthony Pettis and Michael Chiesa, who will be mixing it up at UFC 223 in Brooklyn, New York. So talk about that matchup. I mean, you get to fight a former WEC and UFC champion. Huge name on the docket for you.
Yeah, the type of matchup I was looking for. You know, I want my name to get right back in the mix. You know, and a series of unfortunate events led to my last fight coming up short against Kevin, and he went on to fight for a title, and that was kind of that was a gut bomb in itself when I read the headlines. But win over Anthony Pettis gets me right back in the mix with those guys. I mean, you saw what it did for Poirier when he went out there and beat him. When he went out there and beat him. So I got to do the same thing, but I got to do it better. So it's just a perfect matchup for me. Tough guy. A lot of guys count Anthony out, you know, saying he's done, but look at the guys he's fought, and he doesn't roll over for anybody. You know, he's a tough dude, and you know, I'm just looking at it out there and going and mixing it up. But this is my first time fighting a former world champion, so it's a very exciting time for me.
Mm-hmm. And you and Kevin fought in June, right? Of
June,
last year?
Yeah.
And so you will be fighting almost at the 10-month mark?
Yeah.
What kept you from fighting for that amount of time? Did you just want that kind of time away, or was the UFC slow in offering you a new matchup?
There was a few things. You know, when the fight got over, I had a couple injuries I had to take care of, and I had to take about 8 weeks off from training, and then it just boiled down to getting the right fight. You know what I mean? You know, I let Daniel Rubenstein, best manager in the business, do his job, and we landed the Pettis matchup. We were working towards a Dunham fight. You know, he's on a good win streak, and we had a common opponent with Beneil Dariush, and it seemed like a sensible matchup. And then Pettis came up, and so we pushed for that, and we got it pretty easy. So I couldn't be any happier.
It does sound like a payoff, and it's on a great card. It's on a pay-per-view, and of all the pay-per-views that are coming up, that's a hot ticket. You know, in your division too.
Yeah, in my division. And the other thing that's good is, you know, Khabib or Ferguson, one of those guys could get hurt again. That matchup might be plagued, and I'm the highest ranked lightweight on the card aside from those guys. And even though I'm coming off an L, you know, it wouldn't be out of the UFC's ordinary mode of operation to throw me into the title fight if one of those guys falls short. So it puts me in just a perfect situation.
Okay, and so you're letting them know that, hey, Michael Chiesa can do 15 minutes or 25 if needed. Oh,
I'm game for whatever, man. Especially I could come off the couch and fight for a world title and be good for 25 minutes. The excitement in itself, and that would be amazing. But you know, either way, I'm focused on Anthony, but it's just this card, this matchup, you know, everything is just absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm. No, that's pretty cool to hear. I mean, and I've always told fighters, position yourself when the champion's fighting, because A, you can step in case either guy's out. B, when the fights are over, as long as everybody is healthy, then you're on the same timeline. If for whatever reason you're next or you're pushing to be next, you know, and it always works out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I you know, it kind of baffles me that a lot of fighters don't do that, actually. In fact, I also think it's good insurance for the UFC to have not just you and Pettis, Khabib. I haven't looked at the card. Khabib and Tony's. Are there other lightweights too?
Felder and Iaquinta.
Hey, that's not bad. Now, see, a lot of things shake up. And now what I've said as well is, even though I like the one-on-one press conferences, when you have something like that where maybe 3 fights are all hopefully on the main card, man, get them all on the dais, at least the pre-fight. Let them chirp at each other and talk to each other and start building up what could be next. And at the same time, if you have to do it afterwards, okay. I understand there's times where there's no need to talk to Stipe and then maybe Angela Magana, you know, or whatever on the same day. I mean, because I know that all the questions are going to go to certain fighters, but sometimes when it's a division, man, I think it's popping.
How did Angela Magana come in the picture?
I don't know why I picked that.
Because Steve Miocic then.
Well, I went
Angela Magana.
I went with heavyweight, and then I picked not a popular female at a lightweight, and I go Angela Magana.
We lost our balance for a second. Like, what?
Wow, that's great for the lightweight division.
Yeah, but it's a great card, and who knows? I think there's like 3 or 4 spots still to fill. So who knows? You know what could happen then? And it's that month is big for lightweights. You got Poirier and Gaethje a week after that.
That's right.
You know, so there's a lot of big, and that's what the lightweight division needs. It's just been such a standstill for so long, and it's unfortunate because it's the deepest division, in my opinion, in the UFC, and it's just been at a standstill with no motion. But as of late, you see, you know, you had Alvarez and Gaethje fight 2 and 3. They fought, you know, they were 2 and 3, and then it was Barboza and Khabib 1 and 2, and it's now we have good flow going in the lightweight division, so we can get. They need new faces. You know, there's so many guys out of the top 15 that are just absolutely tough, and they need to be like Paul Felder's not ranked. What, that makes no sense. You know what I mean? So it's good for the lightweight division that we're getting some motion, getting some movement, and who knows how it's going to look by the end of the year. You know, it's going to be a very interesting top 10.
Yeah, for sure. So there are, just to answer the question, a few other lightweights on there. Lozon and Gritzmacher. It's just that they're not ranked fighters.
No.
But still, the 6 you named are enough for me for there to be, you know, a lot of action going, a lot of subsequent action to come out of it. So that was key to get on a fight card like that. And again, the fact that it's just a top to bottom, a solid pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worth the 10 months, you know.
Yeah, worth the 10 months. You know what? And after a fight like Kevin, I was, you know, I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't. I was just mad at the sport for the first time in my life. I was like this. I feel like this is just, life's not fair. Boo-hoo. You know what I mean? I was on the pity potty for a little bit, and I wouldn't say that was necessary, but that's just kind of what I was going through. And, you know, time to pony up. You know, get back on the horse, and you know, and here I am, man. I'm so excited. I've been training hard for the last 2 months. You know what I mean? I've reinvented myself out here at the PI, out here at Syndicate. Just a new outlook on fighting in my career, and I'm just excited to put my best foot forward. And the
whole camp will be here.
The whole camp will be here.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
This is the first. I've always done partials. You know, I've gone to, you know, from Michigan to Spokane or Vegas to Spokane, so on and so forth. This is the first time where I just pack my bags and I'm out, you know, so it's good to be here. I feel good about it.
And you already went through the whole UFC PI gamut of tests and blood work, just so they can say, hey, this is what you need to eat, this is how much you need to rest.
We're still going through that, but
all the chemical stuff.
Yeah, so far so good. They've been pretty happy with the product I've brought to the table. Showing up here in Vegas, they've been very pleased with where I'm at with a lot of these tests, but we still got a few more to go. But I mean, I'm off to a good start, safe to say.
There you go. Let's take this call from Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, bro. ¿Qué pasa, vatos? I'm Marco Chiesa.
¿Qué pasa, man?
Hey, predictions for this weekend. I'm picking Campos over freaking the older people, because, you know, the older people not as talented as the younger one.
Okay.
I'm picking Mitrione over Roy. I agree that he's a more athletic guy. And the blueprint is up there to beat Roy, you know. Outwork him and he'll beat him.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what's the blueprint, all right? Just outwork Roy?
Outwork Roy, yes, keep DC. Everyone that decision Roy because they outwork him. Unless you are, of course, Martin, that you send the uppercut from hell and you knock him out. It's hard to knock out Roy. It's hard to knock out Roy, so you're going to outpoint him.
Okay.
On Sunday, I got the execution of James Vick. Let's show him some respect after he beat Trinaldo. Let's give him a top 10 guy. I know Michael knows the feeling that people on the top 10 don't want to give guys that are outside the top 10 the opportunity. But how many more is James Vick going to have to win to get a freaking name on the top 10? Come on, man. I'm picking Derek Lewis over Tiburon because, you know, Black Beast. And I got Jancy Medeiros ending Donald Cerrone's stint as welterweight, because I think Cerrone always have a problem with people that get up in front of him and pressure him, and that is exactly what Jancy does. So it's going to suck for Donald. He's going to have 4 in a row. He's not getting cut. He's Donald Cerrone, but he's going to have to go back to 155 until Jancy put a beat down on him. Peace out, guys.
Ooh, okay. All right, Marco.
Coming strong.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear everything he said, except for Lewis. He just said he's just the Black Beast. That's what I'm taking him. Yeah, you know, Vic, if I'm not mistaken, did he want to fight you or Iaquinta? Do you remember, Dan? Or
he wants a piece of me.
He wants a piece of you?
I think I'm the top of the heap, but I think he wants a shot at everybody. We have history, you know.
Same season, right?
Same season.
15. That's when you guys went like 13 weeks and shit.
The 13-week grinder. Yeah, I fought James in the semis. I knocked him out in the second. And since then, he's just had a knack for just wanting to call me out. And recently, I think he went on Ariel's show and was just like, I'm done with Kevin Lee and Mike Chiesa. Those guys are pussies, pardon my French, and I'm not, I'm done with them. I'm on to bigger things. I want fights with Ferguson, Khabib. I want the title. Screw them. They're pussies. They turn down fights with me. And I'm thinking to myself, I knocked you out 6 years ago, and I've been matched up with Ferguson. I almost fought Khabib when Ferguson fell out when they were supposed to fight in Tampa. I've been on to bigger things, and that's why I'm not fighting you, is because I beat you, and I'm way ahead of you. So your little argument as to why you're moving on from me, you sound like a jackass, because that's what I've been doing the whole time. I beat you, and I've been going forward. And I'm sorry that you haven't been in my trajectory. I'm not dodging. James Vick is still he can't fight lefties. I do the same thing I did to him last time. Sorry that sorry you're not in my trajectory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever. But as much shit as he talks, I still wish I'm a good-hearted guy. I wish him nothing but the best. And
you think he'll win this weekend?
Yeah, I think he can win. I think he can beat Trinaldo. I mean, I will always give credit to the guys that were on my season of Tough, and it's got nothing to do with me. This isn't some type of me stroking my ego type thing, so don't take it that way at all. But just look at the 32 guys that fought on March 9th, 2012. At one point, we had there was 11 of the 16 that made it in the house in the UFC, and then you had guys like Drew Dober, John Tuck, Akbar Areola. Yeah, the guys that didn't even make it into the house that are in the UFC. You know what I mean? So that's a tough season. That's a tough batch of guys that the UFC turned out from that season. And, I've been in there with both guys. James, I had problems with him in the first round. He's got good cardio. He's long. But Francisco's one of the hardest I've ever been hit was Francisco when I fought him here in Las Vegas. He caught me with an overhand left. And it was woo.
But one of the hardest hits ever?
Yo, hands down. Yeah, there's a picture of it. It's actually, out of all my fights, it's my favorite picture I ever have of myself. Is he's cracking me with an overhand left, and my head's whipping to the side, and I just got all this sweat spraying off me. It's pretty cool. But that guy hits like a freaking truck, man. He's a tough dude, and the guy won 7 in a row at lightweight.
Yeah,
that's impressive. The most I've ever put together is I think 3. That's 7 in a row is. That's
especially in that division, because again, maybe allow someone that's not yourself, so it doesn't look like you're just saying it because it's your division. But I've long championed, has followed the sport for over a decade. Lightweight is the division. It's so tough. If I was a dad, I'd be accused of favoritism for the lightweight division all the time, because I'd always be cutting it slack for their losses.
Yeah,
I'd be cutting it because you really look at from your season, which I agree, by the way, but just the division as a whole.
Yeah.
That when you're talking about things getting jammed up, it really does stink, because for first and foremost for you fighters, but even for fans or media members watching it, because we see all these talented guys, and or our fans, our favorite guys having to eat each other for a ranking spot, so to speak, just to get some movement going on. So
yeah, no. And here's the thing: is I actually agree with James. It's bullshit that it's been this long to get him ranked. The guy's tough as hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's 8-1.
Yeah, he's no joke. The dude's legit. I have a different approach to this sport. I'm not going to sit here and bash on him. I'll recognize real. I'll give respect when when it's deserved. But look at the other thing with the lightweight division is you can't. Some fights will never be the same if you run them back. Look at Francisco. He beat Paul Felder. Paul Felder's last loss, and now he's on a 3-0 streak. Yeah. But then he lost to Kevin, and he was actually competing well against Kevin. He has had a good first round. Kevin came back and beat him. It's just such an interesting division. It's very dynamic, and it just sucks that it's just getting suffocated by no movement.
Yeah.
So.
But you're right, man. I think this could be the year that it comes back to the top of the heap, because as good as Conor has been for the sport in certain regards, he has bottled things up, while he's been out there becoming a father, fighting Floyd, and then just being a rich guy, which was what came out of the Floyd fight. I mean, he lost the fight, and then after that, he just had a ton of money. And first he said, I'm going to fight in December, then maybe in March, and now I believe what's going to happen is, because Dana White's gone on record of saying that they're fighting for the undisputed title, Khabib and Tony.
Oh, he just came out with that today?
No, he said that about a month ago, I think, in Boston. Yeah.
See,
so everybody said, well, then why didn't you strip the Irishman?
Exactly.
And he said, well, whatever reason he gave, because I don't remember at this particular moment, was just we haven't gotten to it yet, but we will. We have to have that talk or something. But he has reassured that the other guys, one of them will walk out with the undisputed title. So what we believe is that because it's two-part. Because Khabib and Tony, this is the 4th time they're making it. For whatever reason, it's just falling apart. they don't want to strip him now and then have that fight fall apart, and now there's just kind of no champion there. Which you could just give it to Tony because technically he's the interim title.
Dude, and he's won 10 in a row.
Right.
11
yeah,
in a row.
Exactly. Or maybe they just want to make a big announcement on Fight Week just to highlight the pay-per-view even more.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's
confusing as fuck.
It's super confusing. In a perfect world, Khabib pulls out of the fight. I fight Ferguson for the belt, and then Khabib and Conor can go fight in Russia, and then we can meet in 2019.
Now, if anybody's listening goes, well, why not Felder, Iaquinta, or Pettis? How would you state your case that you're ahead of them?
I just go by ranking. You know what I mean? I mean, it's hard to compete. Al's on a 5-fight win streak. I think 4 KOs. That's impressive. But, you know, I would throw my ranking card out there, and I would just, you know, I'm ranked higher. The guy that I got screwed against by Mario Yamasaki went on to fight for a belt after me. You know, that would have been me had I had a better official. You know, everyone's got an argument. Who knows what would happen? But just in a perfect world, I think that Khabib falls off. I fall in. Khabib and Conor go fight in Russia. I fight Tony on April 7th.
Storyline too, because you guys had a booking, and
yeah,
you're part of that whole story. You're part of their storyline already, kind of.
Yeah.
As far as the bookings go.
Like in 2016, you're gonna fight, right?
Yeah, I ruptured a disc, ruptured my L5.
Yeah.
That was an unfortunate series of events.
Right, and you're 100% from that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, way good. That's why I had to take so much time off before the Kevin Lee fights. That one just took a long time, not only to get healed, but just to get confident. You know what I mean? When you injure yourself, you know, for instance, like, you know, like talking to Joseph, you know, it's like, you know, he hasn't sparred since the knee, and it's like, you know, you gotta get the trust that your body will function. You know what I mean? And I remember I had ruptured my disc. I was flipping a big tractor tire, and I waited like, I think it was about almost a year until I tried it again. But I would walk by it in the gym all the time and look at it like, man, I just don't feel like I could do it. You know what I mean? You gotta, when you go through an injury, you gotta not only heal it, but you gotta get over that mental barrier that it's gonna hold up for you. So I had to get past that.
Yeah, I just see that scar. Ooh. I had a torn patellar tendon.
Jeez.
So just going down the stairs, I have to trust that my foot, my knee, everything's gonna be there, and I still got a long way to go. Yeah, he just had surgery this week too, so we're both on the mend.
I haven't hernia surgery, but we're just talking about
make him laugh. He'll like it.
Oh, please. We were just talking about like knees though, and as far as kind of citing what you're saying, like, I can't imagine what an athlete someone has to make their check off of, because even as a Joe Schmo, just watching footage, like when I have to study footage, I pop my couple knee problems. Didn't have to have surgery, but minor turn MCL, spinning out of a leg lock. So when I'm watching footage of a guy spinning out of a leg lock, part of me, my stomach drops and I cringe, just because I've had that experience banked. So when I hear actual pro athletes talking about, you know, the adversity of coming over an injury, I can only imagine having to go back and reapply now. All those things. So.
Oh, dude. I mean, you'll listen to your doctors and say, yeah, you're cleared, you're good to go. You know, but I was still very reluctant to approach certain things in training, and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to book a fight until I can get past that. And, you know, at some point you just got to, you know.
I thought the flipping of the tires had gone away. Kind of like the altitude mask and Shark Tanks and a few of the other things, you know, chopping wood or anything else. I thought that we had moved on from that. But you're telling me you're still willing to flip from time to time. And the other day I saw either an Embedded or maybe the Bellator's preview show, and some big guy was flipping a tire. Was it Lewis?
Yoel before.
That's right.
Before the.
And I was like, look at that, the tire's still around, and it shouldn't shock me, because I've always said that as much as, I mean, obviously it may actually be the most important workout you have now is your strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
And as important as it evolved as it has been, you can never go wrong with just a good 5-mile run. You know, and. All these other athletes that are doing all these other things, man, if you can just go out there, a lot of top-level athletes still get their cardio done from just a good run.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, strength conditioning is a very key component in mixed martial arts right now. It's just part of the evolution of the sport. I mean, if you think about it, first it was jiu-jitsu, then it was wrestlers, then it was strikers that can wrestle. Now it's who could do it. Then it was the George St. Pierre's, the guys that could do everything. And now the sport's evolved to who is the faster, stronger, more conditioned athlete. it's just part of the stages of what we, this is such a young sport, and it's just evolving fast. And I think that that's where we're at right now. Is it's not who can put it all together like the George St. Pierre era. It's who's just a faster, stronger guy.
Right.
It's funny he says that because before I remember just commentary, your standard commentary, UFC, go back 10 years, it was this guy. They would speak as athleticism as an attribute, but now it's like Michael says, it's a prerequisite.
Yeah,
you have to have it.
You have to have it. Now you can't just be a good jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, if the biggest throwback in the UFC right now is Damian Maia, but he's still, he doesn't look like Hoist.
He's put a lot of work into his wrestling.
A lot of work into his wrestling, his physique. He's much more athletic. You know what I mean? He's not just a traditional throwback, but he's the closest thing we have to a throwback.
Yeah. All right, folks, we got to take one more break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We have Michael Chiesa in the house. He will be fighting Anthony Pettis on April 7th at UFC 223 in Brooklyn, New York. Stay close. We'll be right back. Plus, we'll also go over our Twitter poll, and we'll get your feedback on that as well throughout the show, and also give you the results of everybody that's voted so far. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
It's the Impossible Springsteen ticket, and we're giving them away to SiriusXM subscribers. SiriusXM's E Street Radio is filling all the seats for the March 14th performance of Springsteen on Broadway. Grand prize winners will get airfare, hotel, and tickets to this exclusive show. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Springsteen. No additional purchases necessary. Michael Chiesa, so one thing we always ask the in-studio guests is, can they share a good street fight story with us?
Oh, good street fight story.
Yep.
Let me think of a good one here. I got a couple. Not a big street fight guy, but I think every average male in America, or pretty much around the world, gets in at least a couple street fights in your life.
Correct.
This one isn't particularly. This is funny. So this was borderline about to be a street fight.
Okay.
But this is it. This wasn't too long ago. So this was after I fought.
Oh, is this with your homegirl Juliana?
No, I wasn't there for that debacle.
Okay.
No. No, but she was with me on this one.
Okay.
So this is pretty funny. So the weekend I fought Jim Miller was that mega weekend when they had the 3 events back to back to back. It was
like at the International Fight Week.
That International Fight Week 2015. No, it was 2015
Okay.
when it was December 8th, 9th, and 10th when
that.
Connor fought Aldo.
Mm-hmm.
So I beat Jim Miller, so I decided to stay in Vegas for a couple more days, and I'm with Juliana Pena, Lazy the Savage, and his brother. And this is after Jose loses. This is after Conor McGregor knocks him out. And we're walking through MGM, and there's this really drunk Irish guy sitting against the glass case on the floor, and he was singing Hotline Bling. But he sounded so funny. He's just sitting there, and he's trying to sing, I know when the Hotline Bling, you know, the Drake song. Mm-hmm. So the 4 of us are walking by him, and it's just hilarious. And so we start laughing, and we're walking, and we started kind of singing it. It was like our little joke we had going. We get in the elevator. We go up, and Lazy's staying in those rooms where you have to go through the skywalk all the way across. Mm-hmm. So we get on the elevator. It's just the 4 of us. We walk the skywalk, and we're joking about it the whole way. And we get to Lazy's room, and we're sitting there, and probably about 10 minutes go by, and someone starts knocking on the door, and we're like, what the heck? Like, no one knows this is Mike's room. And really quick, the knocking gets louder, and by the time Lazy goes, dude, it's that Irish guy. And we're like, instantly in my head, I'm like, how did this guy find us?
Yeah, no shit.
And so no one answers the door. I was like, I'll get it. So by the time I looked at the people, the guy has his back turned to the door, and he's freaking mule kicking the door. And so I open it, and the guy swings a punch at me, like swings a punch. I like slip it, and like,
how big was this dude?
This is a little
feisty guy,
little Irishman. Yeah, he swings a punch at me, and I step back and slip it, and like Neo in the Matrix, I went boom, and I just like palmed him in the chest, it's like out of reaction. I didn't hit him, but I was like bam, and I palmed him in the chest, and he flew across the hall, hits the hall wall, drops to the floor. Then he gets up and he goes and charges at me, and he stops. And he goes, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Please don't kill me, man. Please.
So he recognized you?
Yeah, he did. He's like,
but he didn't recognize you when you walked by?
No. And it was so weird because it was like we saw him in passing. We're like, oh, funny, you know, and we're like joking about it. But we got on the elevator, the 4 of us, and then we had to walk this huge skywalk.
Hang on one second. Danny, are we on commercial? Danny?
We are right now.
Okay, we'll be right back, folks. Oh. Wow, I got so carried into the story.
Me too, yeah.
I happened to look at the clock. And, all right, we'll finish it when we come back.
Cool.
This is one of the better ones.
Dude, it was
All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We had an abrupt ending to the first hour, but here we go. We're in the middle of a street fight story. Michael Chiesa is telling us about an Irish kid who was singing along and happened to keep an eye on these guys because as they walked by, they actually captured the song, sang along with them. You guys weren't really punking them, right? You guys are. It wasn't like you punked them, right? You just thought it was catchy and kept going?
It was literally just in passing. Like, as we're, like, walking by, this guy's sitting on the ground. We're just, like, we just overheard him trying to sing Hotline Bling in his drunk Irish accent. We thought it was funny, so we just kept walking. We didn't stop to marvel or take a Snapchat or nothing. We're just like,
wasn't like the scene in Clockwork Orange under the tunnel where they're poking at the bum or anything like that.
No, not at all. So, yeah, so we just
How many floors up did you go?
I think that Lazy's room was, like, the 17th or 18th floor, and then it's the big skywalk.
Right.
So we get on the elevator, just the four of us. No Irishmen. Go up, get off the elevator, walk this huge corridor. No Irishmen, no Hotline Bling, except for us. We're singing it. And then we get to the room, and like 10 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden this dude shows up, and he's like knocking on the door, and they're like, dude, it's the Irish guy. I'm like, what? So by the time I go to answer the door, I look in the peephole, and the dude has his back turned. He's mule kicking the door. And so I open it, and he turns around, and he just swings a punch at me. And so I just kind of like lean back. And then like Neo in the Matrix, I just like, boom, like palm him in his chest. And he just kind of flew off his feet, hit the wall. And he gets up to charge me, and then he just freezes. And he's just like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, don't kill me. And I'm just like, get out of here. Like, I just was so juiced up. I just fought 2 days ago.
Right.
So I'm still kind of, you know. But, you know, it was
Did he
fun.
just retreat? Or?
He just retreated. I was just like, you need to get out of here. And he wouldn't leave. He kept being like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, if you're sorry, just go away. Like,
wow.
Walk on.
That is nuts, man.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I'll give it up to the guy, man. What a ninja to somehow follow them and I mean, by himself. Let's just say this. You described him as a shorter guy,
He's
right?
Smaller for sure.
So let's just pick this story apart a little bit. 4 people walked by. Okay, this guy's like 6'2", and even if you didn't recognize him, he's going by. He's still 3 men and a fit lady walked by. All right, it's fight weekend, so you just kind of don't know who you're going to run into. And either way, he still thought enough of to go, and his ninja skills of not get caught as he's following them, figure out what door it is, and then his opening move was just strike, knowing there could be 2 other men and a female there ready to throw down. And then how about the wherewithal to you know, the alertness to just go, oh, that's my bad. That's an L in the L column. I will not continue. I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people would just be stubborn and fight it out or whatever.
Oh, yeah. He was smart.
The story takes a lot of turns, but I love it.
That little imp was smart to stop himself in his tracks. I wouldn't have. You know what? I've got enough self-control. I wouldn't have, like, close fist beat the guy up. If he would have charged back and me not stopped, I would have probably just, like, restrained him and got, like, security. I wouldn't have, like, you know. Fighting for free is not my repertoire of things I do on a regular. So
a Vegas street fight story. That's nice.
That's
Very
good.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
All right, now he's got to get going soon. Let's do one other thing here, just to get your opinion. We are kind of having these daily debates using our MMA Junkie Twitter handle, and we pose these questions to the fans. So here's today's question. With all things considered, should John Jones currently be considered MMA's #1 light heavyweight? I got the stats in front of me, Dan. You want me to take this from here?
Yeah, if you got it in front of you.
All right, so basically the final votes results came in 877 people voted, and this one was pretty close. 52% said no, he should not be considered MMA's #1 light heavyweight. 48% agreed. I imagine the 52 would say it's DC. I guess others could argue Alex or someone else. I don't know. But I have to imagine that that's a vote for DC. You know, a lot of people, I would have never guessed that. I really would have felt like a lot of people still would, regardless of John Jones' allegations that he has to clear up, it would still be him. But it's not. How about you, Dan? What do you think?
It's tough, you know. We still have him in the rankings because, you know, it's still in due process. We have to let that play out, but it's hard to deny what do they call it, the old head-to-head matchups. And I think because recency bias in the head-to-head matchup, it's hard for people to maybe get that out of their head. So I think that is why the 48%, but the 52%, I was a little surprised there too. I thought maybe it'd be a little more the other way.
Yeah. So what do you think?
You know, here's where it gets tough. Is, you know, John's had a couple hiccups that really can tarnish the legacy, and we'll see how things pan out when he goes through litigation in due process with the current thing. And that's February. That's end of the month, February 24th. He has his meeting at in California.
We actually talked to Malkikawa, and it should be straightened out hopefully soon.
Yeah. John Jones, to me, is just kind of in this gray area on his own. You know what I mean? He had this great run before he started having troubles. He's beat DC twice. I still consider DC the #1 light heavyweight because the failed test overturns the fight. Obviously, that's not going to stick. No matter what, you had a bad substance in your body. You can't take that away. Whether it was knowingly in a product you were taking or not, it doesn't matter. That's going to stick. And that's unfortunate. But DC has been active. He's fought guys. He did better. He did good against Gustafsson. He's been an active light heavyweight. He's in AJ. He beat AJ twice. AJ, somebody John Jones didn't fight. Who knows how that fight would have went? A lot of people think that would have been a tougher matchup for John. But I just think John, he's still #1, but he's just kind of in an area on his own. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to put him ahead of DC. I mean, he convincingly beat him last time, obviously, but this failed test is just it leaves an asterisk next to that fight, and so DC is the #1 light heavyweight, but I think John Jones is just like #1 over in some other area. I can't quite put my thumb on it. I don't know how to describe it, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting out.
I think you're right. You're right. A lot will be sorted out soon. We had Malkikawa on. He's got to sort things out with USADA. He's got to sort things out with California. Daniel Cormier was in our studio, and he acknowledges the 2 wins. He realizes he got head kicked, and he doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
But when you look at what's happened, a no contest, what's what? For me, I believe that the #1 light heavyweight is Daniel Cormier. So there you have it. There's our opinion here on today's panel for our daily debate.
And I hope, and on a side note, just one more thing. I hope everything does work out for John. I hope that I don't want this thing to stick. This is one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. You don't want this to stick onto his legacy. So I hope that however everything pans out at the end of the month, I hope it washes clean for him. You know what I mean? And I wish him the best.
Mm-hmm. Michael, let me ask you one last thing here before you leave. You mentioned something where when you were talking about James Vick, keep it. What'd you say? Real, recognize real, keeping it real or whatever. In regards to Yamasaki and everything that went down in his most recent fight, and even Dana White going so far as to say, I never want him in the octagon again.
Yeah.
Do you reside with like or have you been able to put June behind you? How can you assess what happened with Yamasaki that night? Did you feel it was a mistake or not?
On the fight night with Valentina just recently?
Yes.
I made a post about this, and my stuff aside, I have my own separate issue with Yamasaki. He contradicts himself a lot when he's saying he gave her the opportunity to be a warrior. I wish I was granted the same opportunity, but my situation with him has nothing to do with what happened in that Valentina fight. The guy is essentially a referee's job is to protect the fighters. That is what they are there for. Their #1 priority is not to enforce rules. Their #1 job is to protect the fighters. You are there to protect us from ourselves, which it was something he did not do. This girl, she's obviously very tough. She hung in there and took a beating, but that is when a fighter can be their own worst enemy. He is there to protect the fighters, and he is not doing his job. And it's just not safe to have a guy in there like that. Like, you know what? Who cares? My fight, I lost a win. That's one thing. But this girl could be different for the rest of her life now. She tore her ACL. She has to have a full knee surgery. She landed 3 strikes compared to Valentina's umpteen. You know what I mean? Million strikes she landed, however many, couple hundred. You can't have a guy in there like that. What happens what if it's 2 heavyweights? What if it's, Stipe Miocic mounting somebody and he's just pounding their face in, and he's just not doing anything about it because he wants to let him be a warrior? That is not safe. That is not safe for the sport. That is a bad look. I believe that we need more guys like Vitor Shaolin. We need more fighters being officials. Guys that not just BJJ black belts, because obviously that doesn't do anything, because Mario Yamasaki is this well-accredited 5th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu and judo, whatever. We need mixed martial artists. And not only mixed martial artists, ones that have competed at the highest level in the UFC, so they are comfortable being under the lights, in the middle of the octagon, officiating a fight, I think that would be a good step in the right direction to get some fresh faces.
Frank Trigg is a recent addition.
Love seeing that. I love that. That's what we need. I don't think that would have happened on Frank Trigg's watch. I don't think that would have happened on any official's watch. To this day, I still think the best official is Josh Rosenthal.
And he's back.
My man.
Yeah. Yep. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much for stopping by. We look forward to your fight versus Anthony Pettis. Still have a few months ahead of us. You'll be doing your thing here in Vegas. And if on another day you find yourself with a light schedule, 10 to 12, we'd love to have you come back and co-host, man.
Hey,
you did a great job, seriously.
I'd love to. Thank you, sir. It'd be a pleasure.
All right, folks. That's Michael Chiesa. You can follow him on Twitter at MikeMav22. Again, Pettis, April 7th, UFC 223. Should be a great night of fights, especially for that division. We're going to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We'll kind of keep our head on a swivel. Hopefully that Angel Garcia guy shows up. You know how the boxing world is, man. They're a little bit different. They roll on different schedules, so we'll see. All right, we'll be right back. Stay close.
stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back. Kind of shifting our commercial schedule around a little bit, just in case Angel Garcia does pop in. The boxing world runs on their own time. Floyd Mayweather, his weigh-ins will be like scheduled for 3 p.m. and they'll weigh in like at 4:30. I imagine just boxing can have that type of inconsistency. The UFC is a little bit more buttoned up, minus Conor McGregor. And maybe a Diaz brother or two. But other than that, you know, those guys pretty much run on a really, really tight schedule. But it's different. Let's talk to Ben from New Zealand, calling from the other side of the world. Maybe you can give us Sunday's results already. I think they're like 3 days ahead. What's up, Ben? How you been?
Yeah, I've been sweet, Gigi. I slipped in today. I was really thinking, I should talk to Michael Chiesa, because you think about one of the things that comes up sometimes is the Ultimate Fighter and whether it's still relevant and whether it's still the best way to promote the organization. And if you look at the champions at the moment, look at 185, the middleweight, Rob Whittaker came off tough. Look at 135, TJ Dillashaw came off tough. Look at 115 strawweight, Rose Namajunas came off tough. At 155, we've got an interim champion, Tony Ferguson, came off tough. We just lost Michael Bisping, you know. I mean, the only reason Rob Whittaker's champ now is because Bisping, who came off tough, was the middleweight champ. So it has definitely produced champions in the past, and it's still producing champions. But I also see the other side of things where it feels like it's been around for so long, maybe it's not still the best way to do things. And so I was hoping I could ask Chiesa's viewpoint on it. But so what do you guys reckon about what is the way forward for Tough?
Well, they've tried so many different things as far as like bringing back. They introduced the females a few seasons ago. Actually, I thought it went well. They've had males and females living together. They've had, fight your way in. They've had just beat 8 others or 7 others because you're the 8th, where they split them up into 2. And you don't have to fight your way in. They had the live season, 13 weeks, which was Michael Chiesa. They've had comeback seasons. They now have undefeated, and so I imagine everyone's going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder this year. They've had coaches that hate each other, and they have coaches that get along great. It seems like they've tried every single thing they can out there. But as far as like what you're saying, ratings, I think that's what you mean, right? Is how can we get it to just start popping a little bit more? Is that your question, Ben?
That's pretty much it, because they can't,
get coaches that hate each other. I think Woodley and Colby Covington would have been perfect, honestly. And Woodley's recovering from an injury. Even though you want your champions defending, he's one that's recovering from an injury that you just never know what the outcome's gonna be. And him versus Colby Covington, I think, would have had a lot more zest to it than him versus RDA, because RDA is, even though they're beefing a little bit on Twitter, he's just not going to bring it to that level. And so now you have 2 coaches that despise each other who are going to fight, and they're going to be very, very competitive, trying to have their guys win. I just think it would have been an interesting dynamic. But I think that's where you start, is the 2 coaches who are going to fight, and hopefully they dislike each other, And you definitely want to fill the alcohol up, or fill the house up with some alcohol, just so you have a little bit of tension. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. I'm not encouraging the ones that haven't fought yet to drink, but the other guys are going to want to let loose a little bit. And, of course, we don't want anyone getting thrown off the second story of a balcony. But, some tension, some face-to-face. That's what draws in reality TV. Whether it's a fighting show or any other type of show, when they go, this season on Road Rules or this season on Survivor, they're always going to show that type of stuff.
I would like to see more shoeies in Tough.
I think you would expect that people would look at, or fans would look at the current champions and notice that about 1/3 of them out of the 12 divisions, about 4 of them have come off Tough, and so in one sense you would think fans might look at that and think, well, this show's obviously still relevant. Maybe we want to see these guys coming in and girls coming in, and there's other potential future champions, but it's obviously not enough.
Yeah, man. the hardcore fans, it's like Tough isn't for them, because if they can't even get excited to watch fights on UFC Fight Pass or buy every single pay-per-view, how are they going to get excited about Tough? They'll just figure that when the TJ Dillashaws of the world become the TJ Dillashaws of the world, or the Tony Fergusons or whoever else is, that's when they're in. A lot of people are just MMA snobs. They don't watch all the fight cards. They only watch Big Fox. They pay for occasional pay-per-views, and that's it. But when you see, hey, 4 million fans tuned in, or 3 million, or whatever, like Kimbo season, it's because the casual fan is in. And to draw the casual fan, you got to have polarizing athletes or some heat, you know. And I don't know that we'll have another Kimbo. So I think have two coaches that definitely have some sort of a rivalry, and then, you know, hopefully the fights deliver early on. That's all I can think of.
I would say just format change, you know, for someone like me, because I don't think I'm a snob, but I watch a lot of stuff. But I think just that kind of argument we have with the oversaturation, I think that affects Tough as well as, you know, pay-per-view sales and all that stuff too. I'm
on a comeback season, maybe? Would that do it for you?
I would think so, but the last one didn't do it for me either, man. I mean, I haven't watched the full season, to be honest. I mean, I go back and watch the fights, but I'm going to get here. But Tough 10, man, since Roy Nelson was on the damn thing, I haven't watched a whole season through and through, like, just as a fan. Like, I've went back, I've watched fights, I've tuned in for episodes, certain fighters that I want to see, sure. But it's been tough. I think, George, the demographic spoke of, I can relate to some of that. And I'm more of the camp, I think, I don't want to throw Goes under this bus, but I believe he said it before, where I'd be more under that camp, where I would be more for like a Dana White Contender Series or just something new replacing it, you know, because you still need something from a marketing perspective. They need to get these names out there. You need these introductory things. You need places for Felder and Brendan Fitz on TV to grow. You know, I go back and watch their Fight Pass footage and for the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and you just hearing guys like Yves Edwards get reps in, and, you know, something like that where you can at least get a lot of plate spinning off of it.
You know, I bet you that out of the last 5 seasons, the one moment that we can all recall was Cody grabbing TJ by the throat. Yes or no?
That's a visual that popped in even in my head.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Then before that, you got to go maybe to Joanna and Claudia, because they were always getting in each other's face.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember anything else getting tense before Ronda and Misha, maybe. You know, so I don't know, man. That's a start. The fights have to deliver, but if you're more invested in the athletes that, you know, that a comeback season can produce, then I think you're more likely to watch, because they already have some fans, you know, and they already have some past successes and notoriety, so you kind of already know, versus just, you know, Joe Blow versus Joe Lunchpail.
Minus 300 on Joe Blow, by the way, if you're looking for odds.
Thank you, Ben, for the call. Great stuff, man. I keep looking. I keep seeing boxing people going back and forth. The Garcia camp may have gone by. You know, maybe we're just on pay no mind. I don't know. But great to see Chiesa's, you know, planting his flag here in Vegas and camping here, and he really sounded excited about possibly coming back and doing it again. And I thought he did really, really, really well.
Oh yeah, that was good to hear too. Just you know, I was telling Danny kind of just off break. He was like, "Wow, I was really, you know, impressed by, you know, Chiesa." Not that Danny's not impressed by fighters or anything like that, but, you know, you could really tell when a fighter brings it, kind of like the conversation you had the other day, George. And Chiesa was definitely embracing that. But yeah, I mean, especially when you think about it, because, you know, a lot of fighters can have chips on their shoulders when you deal with them, and I get it. I completely understand why, and I always give fighters passes for that reason. Whether, you know, people might think an attitude or this or that, and here he comes in, and even he said so himself. He was at the most bitter time in the sport, and, you know, when most people would be bitter coming off a bad loss like that, so to speak, right? So he'd have every right to come in here and be, you know, this is what I feel, da 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 da. And no, man, he took all your questions, rolled with it, gave honest answers, and I just wish more fighters would do that. I know you preach it in here every week, George, but I'm just co-signing, man. I wish more fighters would do that.
Yeah, I really, really like the co-hosts now, even more than before. And, you know, for any fighter that we've said this before, that's looking for more exposure, hit up the different shows that are out there where you have this opportunity. I know the other day, was it Tuivasa or Tyson Pedro that goes, "I want to be on the Joe Rogan podcast"? You remember who
it was Pedro, and I think
Pedro?
he got an open invite according to social media. But yeah,
I think Jeremy Stevens did it once. He was on Rogan, but Rogan can't get to them all.
Yeah,
and there's quite a few other shows that have that format where they can do something like that, and ours is one of them. All right, so I do want to ask you this: Miocic and Cormier.
Okay.
They won't really have the dynamic. If anybody can pull it out of Miocic, maybe Cormier. But I think they have so much respect for each other. I think Miocic will be able to read through it. So anything Cormier says, like, yo, I'm going to knock you out, I think Miocic knows he's just trying to build the fight. There's not, like, blood, that there's not some venom behind anything like that.
Right.
But they will be the next coaches. But if you could pair up two heavyweights as coaches with the objective of having heat, who would you pair up?
Two heavyweights as coaches.
Yeah.
Got to be heavyweights. Can it be? Does they have?
Well, we'll go down. We're going to do
fighters?
each weight class. We're going to go down each weight class.
And then UFC only. Heavyweights with heat pairing.
They're not really talkers, from what I can tell.
The only one I would go for the low hanging fruit with because no one is really talkers. That's true. Yeah. I mean,
maybe Lewis and Ngannou a little bit. They've been chirping, or at least one guy's been chirping.
Does Brown still have any contracts on? Travis Brown have anything left on his contract?
I don't know. Is he still with the UFC?
Not sure if he quietly hit his last one or is just sitting on his last one.
We know Jones Cormier is an easy one, but I don't think they'll do that. They're nowhere near it. Gustafsson and DC would be interesting, but DC's doing this season, so I just don't see him doing back-to-back. Manoa DC would have been interesting.
Like
but Manoa dropped that key fight to Volkan that eliminated him. Otherwise, it would have been interesting to see if he could make it in there one way or another.
I guess here's my question is, if UFC can sign to make the super fight, right? Obviously, they got some faith in it. Obviously, they think it's a good match. Like, we think it's a good match, right?
Which one, Miocic and Cormier?
Miocic but Cormier, because you just sparked something, George. You're thinking about it, because I'm thinking, you're right. How are they going to... How are they going to talk that one up, especially when they already had that conversation? Not only is it not their personalities, but they had the sidebar before they took the fight, right? With DC and Stipe saying, "Hey, we're gonna go in this respect, right? All right, let's make some money. Let's, whatever they said to each other." So what does the UFC do? Are they going to step up to the plate and try to compensate, for that? Like, I'm curious to not trying to like your move UFC. Like, I don't mean it to come off that way, but I'm genuinely curious to see how they're going to promote that fight.
Well, GOAT status, heavyweight status, I don't know. I mean, if Daniel Cormier beats one of the guys in the running for GOAT, does that make him the GOAT? Maybe not.
All right.
But especially when he'll have trouble putting himself over his friend Cain Velasquez. Current GOAT, maybe, or pound for pound. I think pound for pound is probably the best way to go at it. Two champions that have title defenses and great records, and they have a chance to build off each other's win. But in middleweight, if you were to pick two guys, Whitaker and Romero ain't going to work because they're both pretty nice guys.
Bisping Romero, I think, kind of takes
Bisping
hold.
Romero would have been pretty cool, but Bisping's out of the equation, and I don't know if Bisping would coach again. Bisping versus anybody. Maybe Rockhold. They would go at it a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. Hey, you know what? Don't say never on the coaching, because remember the last guy complaining about not getting enough money for a fight, and that seems to be the UFC's deal, where they say, okay, we'll bend, but we're not just if we're gonna pay this money, we're not just paying you for the fight, Stipe. You're doing a tough series for us. And whatever that conversation we just talked about that happened that Rashad was alluding to sounded like it was financially driven. So I don't know, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying on that. But I'm just thinking out loud here as far as the trends we've been seeing.
Now the welterweight rankings.
Okay.
If you look at Woodley versus Covington, that's popping.
Yeah,
Woodley versus RDA. I think we can get there, but RDA is just not gonna. He's only gonna have a certain amount of bullets in the chamber.
Yeah, right.
And then that'll be that.
Bullets in the chamber.
Let's see here. Darren Till strikes me as someone that could be interesting, but I think he needs that one more big win.
Darren Till?
Him and Mike Perry maybe, but Perry also needs more than one win. So I'm going to skip down and go to lightweight. Are there lightweights that run their mouths a little bit?
I would love that.
Khabib versus anyone, really, right? I think Khabib and Conor versus anyone. Conor's not going to do another season of tough. Tony can be a G when he needs to be, but I think for the most part he'll be there to coach athletes.
I think Kevin Lee, man. I think Kevin Lee could get something going with Khabib.
Yeah.
Or he already started stuff with Gaethje, so if Gaethje comes out of his next matchup on top.
But Gaethje's not gonna. Gaethje, he's acknowledged it himself. He's just not a talker. So you're looking at maybe one or two good quotes for the whole season.
True.
Alvarez Diaz, they have a little bit of beef. That'd be cool to see.
I like that one.
Poirier Alvarez would be good, but see, Alvarez is just coming off a season, and I don't know that he does it again.
That's true. Yeah.
I had Quinta versus somebody. That'd be pretty good. All right, I think the best one would have been Colby and Tyron. It's too bad they didn't do it. We'll see what happens now with Stipe and DC. That's not a bad choice by any stretch. But I think the other names in featherweight, these guys are mostly pretty nice guys.
I gotta imagine them doing something with maybe like a lightweight or a welterweight sometime soon too, because those divisions, you got to think of it too, like they're crowded divisions where you could take some of your pay scale and your big names and kind of ease off the pressure of the booking and put them over in tough, right? Mm-hmm. And then with those divisions, not only they stacked divisions, but they're also money divisions where you have names like McGregor floating around to where everybody's complaining there's not enough contenders or not enough name value to draw. Well, tough, with all its criticisms you may have about it, it's a solid vehicle for them to, put Kevin Lees or these other guys that are still trying to make their name and give them more of that bump so that when, these matchups come down the line, maybe we won't lose our stars to these money fights. We can draw them into the contenders because we've put in enough. So hopefully they go that route.
Have you heard anything about contenders? Tuesday night contenders?
No.
Even behind the scenes?
No, I haven't heard anything behind the scenes. I haven't seen anything on the old Twitter sphere.
I thought they were going to capitalize. That thing was pretty hot in the summer, and then the fall came, and winter's maybe about 2 or 3 weeks from officially ending. We'll be into spring, and well, the reason I ask is I don't want them to wait till summer because it's a fucking sauna in there, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going in there with a little bit cooler weather. But there were some times where I was fucking walking out with swamp ass and sweaty balls and disgusting ring around my neck and shoulders, and I was like, come on, man. And I know I wasn't the only cat either. UFC 223, Dan Tom will be there.
Yeah.
Junkies want to meet up. This is the card and what it looks like. Tony Ferguson versus Habib Nurmagomedov for the undisputed lightweight title. Rose Namajunas defends her women's strawweight title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Rematch there. Immediate rematch. Felice Herrig versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Paul Felder versus Al Iaquinta. Chris Gritzmacher versus Joe Lazon. Ray Borg and Brandon Moreno, who were supposed to fight on Sunday in Austin, Texas, they got moved to this card. So lucky Brooklyn. Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. Alex Caceres versus Artem Lobov. Calvin Kattar versus Hanato Moicano. Don't sleep on that one, right?
Sleeper fight.
That's a great one. And Ashley Evans Smith versus Beck Rawlings. So how many fights is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you may still get 3 more fights. 13's kind of the limit. I think I saw 14 once, and it fell apart and wound up being 13 or 12. Wow. But I think 13's the most they've really, on a consistent basis, ever gone for.
I know one of the names if they can get him an opponent.
Who?
One of my favorite guys at featherweight, Zabit Magomed Sharapov. Don't mess with the Zohan.
Well, did you see Andre Fili hit him back and said, hey, man, don't be throwing my name in there. I didn't turn down no fight.
Ooh.
So who knows if he may get his wish. He said that to him, but Volkanovski, he also had a problem with Volkanovski in him saying that he was talking about some of the guys that are bullies in the division. He's like, nah, man, if anything, I've defended bullies. So Andre Fili had 2 guys coming at him.
Yeah, that struck me. I'm a big Volkanovski fan too, by the way, and his stance on and going against the bullies. But I was like, hey, come on, it's cool, man. Don't judge him by his tattoos or anything. He's a nice guy. He's always down for the underdogs, as he so to speak. But yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Well, now what the fuck is this? I thought I saw it last night, and I wasn't sure. Something about Ryan Bader appeared nude at a basketball game.
Oh my god, do I want to know?
I don't know. Let's see here. I'm going to click this story on MMA Junkies. We're talking about it because I'm kind of going to see what the latest news is. And there is Ryan Bader. Is he nude? He's behind these 2 mascots. See them right there?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, he's right here. I'll start it over for you, Dan. Oh, no, he's got some shorts on. Maybe a Speedo or something. Yeah, he's got a Speedo on. What the fuck is that, though?
The Pikachus that were gyrating hand motions in the midsection level, that was more disturbing than the Ryan Bader part.
Well, he is a Sun Devil, a former Sun Devil. He's an ASU grad, and yesterday ASU. Oh shit! It does look like it, but
he's
got the Bellator belt, but he's got a heavy or a wrestling.
I was gonna cite a photo, but I won't. But yeah.
So they actually played Arizona yesterday.
Oh, that hurts.
And Arizona State came up a little bit short, but hey, if they had won, man, I would have hit some parlays last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you have changed?
But I never remember seeing that. We had Penn State, and we had Houston in college basketball, along with Arizona State, and then I also had the Lakers plus 10 to under. Now that one was my long shot parlay, and it went over. So that one I didn't have.
Okay.
I mean, I was close, but it barely missed. But this one had already ruined it, and this one would have helped me hit 2 more parlays. So I could have had a really, really big night. Instead, I just had a good night. So that was unfortunate, but what are you going to do? That's the world of gambling.
You play, you pay.
Yeah. All right, so what's your parlay for the weekend, Danton?
All right. Am I allowed to pick favorites here? Or?
Sure.
All right.
I mean, if you give me 5, we might have to give you a little shit, but
shoot. Well, I'm all tip my hand here. I'm all chalk for my picks on this card, so I will go with my dog. You know, not a big dog, but I will go with Hawaii because that's where my heart is with that pick. Y'all know it was a reluctant pick for the main event, so.
Medeiros?
Yep. And no issue with anybody going for Lewis either, by the way. But my dog will be Medeiros, and Vic and let's go Gordon for mine.
You see Vic is dating a Hawaiian gal? I didn't know that.
Oh, good for Vic.
Yeah.
Let's go on the Chris Weidman route, huh?
He in fact, he was dating this girl when we went out to our last visit to the military bases. I mean, we hung out together a little bit, but he never really brought up the fact that he had a girl. I mean, we're just at the bowling alley and hanging out, but I think everybody was a little bit open, like what they got going on. And even by then, I believe he was already expecting a baby boy, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
So good for him on everything that's happening.
Man, that's big news.
Well, I mean, that wasn't December. Yeah, I guess. But I was looking back on his Instagram, and it turns out this girl, I think, used to be, or maybe currently is, although she's on leave for maternity, a green card girl for LFA, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, Texas-based organization. He's in Texas. All right.
All right, so you like Vic, you like Medeiros, who else?
If you want to pull another favorite out of me, I'll say Northcutt is another leg that I say you could lean on here as far as what they have listed.
But Medeiros is the one favorite you would play if you had to play a favorite?
The one
or,
dog.
Sorry, dog?
Yes, sir.
Over Lewis?
Yes, sir.
All right. You think Jared Gordon has a pretty good shot then as well?
Yeah, I'm high on that kid.
Okay. And any over-unders?
They don't have any listed here, and I'll pull some up actually right now. And I'll tell you what I like as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm bad. I use those online sites. You know how that goes. But most sites, no matter what it is, it's the over-unders.
Fights usually you want them to go the distance, right? But in this case, Vic may get the finish.
They are late with their lines, man. They don't. I've never seen this. They usually have an over/under posted, at least at Dimes where I'm pulling, and they don't. They have it on the top 3. You were saying Vic over/under minus 165 for the 2.5 over, and I think that's dangerous because first of all, it's kind of like that trap fight feeling. I mean, I like what you could tell Chiesa watches his tape, man, because Vic does have trouble with lefties. He's 1-1 against lefties, but he's been stopped and almost he's been dropped and stopped in one of them, almost stopped in the other, even though he ended up winning, right? Lost to Benil Dariush, and then small muscly guy Nick Hine almost lost to that, got dropped real bad twice in the first round, and lost to Chiesa, who's a southpaw. So he's got another southpaw here who, just like Chiesa said, has that deadening power. So Trinaldo could end it at any time, whereas Vic, who I'm picking, I see Vic getting it done late. I think it's gonna be more like that Trujillo fight where he's gonna have to survive a few scares. But those few scares are going to get Trinaldo excited, maybe kind of get him to gas out like we've seen Trinaldo do. He is 39. He's getting older, right? So I think he's gonna come he's gonna come strong at the end. So those fights are always real dangerous to play overs and unders because you have a guy that's live that can just upset the whole balance, right? But then you also have a guy who is probably going to take it late, but he can also get that late finish. So it always makes it tricky to play those guys. Want to hear a funny anecdotal about that though?
Sure.
The reason why Bilal always be in my good book, even though I had to come clean about picking against him last time out, but one of the times I think I bet this by accident. I bet Bilal straight up money line. I bet him inside the distance, but I accidentally bet the over, which was 2.5, and he was fighting Eric Montano. And he ended up getting the finish with like a minute left to go in the third round.
Really?
So you cash all three. You cash the money line, you cash the inside the distance, and then you cash the 2.5 over because he got it done at the last minute in the third round. Like, it's super rare you ever hit those, but those are always fun, right?
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, there's just some days where you feel
fire.
like you know it all. You know what I mean?
It's been a while since I've had one of those.
Ask me what you want. I got you. I got you. And then there's days where you talk to yourself to death, and the next thing you know, you wind up going against fights you. Have you ever liked a fight, been on it, and then you hear everyone else and get influenced and start talking your way into why maybe you might be wrong and they might be right, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? I should just went with my gut feeling.
100%. That's why I'm the one of the last stragglers on staff picks. That's why I just kind of stay blind. I mean, I honestly don't even look at the odds. They're a little peek behind the curtain when I'm writing my summary. The summary is the last thing I do after doing all my analysis. I take all my notes. The summary is the last thing I write. And at the end of the summary, when you guys read my work, you notice I list the odds at the end. When I get to that part where it comes to the odds, I have to stop, go to a different tab, pull up the odds for the first time. Because I always try to, unless it's like something where it's come up in conversation or on my timeline, I try not to even look at the odds, dude. Mm-hmm. Just because, you know what I'm saying? Because there's times where, how many times, George, have you thought you had a feel on a fight, the odd Joey Odessa, whoever releases their line, and you're like, what? And you start rethinking.
Right.
I mean, it happens to all of us, right? So it's like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I agree. How about this? King Mo is going to corner Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson might be a future opponent in this Grand Prix if they both advance. But it shouldn't be unusual because they actually, between them two, and there was another gentleman out of Colorado. He was a wrestler. I forget his name, but he always used to hang out with those guys. Stocky guy. Fuck, what was his name? He had a Hispanic last name. Anyway, they used to train together when Mo lived in Vegas, so they became good friends. They would train at Mayweather's. They would train at Syndicate. They would train at Extreme Couture.
Yep.
And the one thing I've noticed is, I'm sure a lot of you have, fighters who are teammates or part of, or maybe from the same country or maybe the same management stable, they don't worry about a potential fight as much as the fans and the media do. And the reason is because they know that in 6 months, it can all be so completely different. As easy as if fighter A and fighter B, if one of them wins, one of them loses, well, that's it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean? A lot of times camps will also designate who their lead guy is.
Yeah.
And therefore, even if you're new to the camp, I'll give you an example. Like, Darren Elkins is over at Team Alpha Male. For the longest time, Chad Mendez was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, Chad Mendez has been on suspension, closing in on 2 years. He's going to come off suspension very soon, and he'll take a fight. 2 years has gone by that fast. And when he comes back, he won't be the number one guy. Elkins is the one that's getting the big fights, and I believe now Mendez will have to fight someone. It'll be a big name. But if I'm not mistaken, they'll make the push for Elkins right now because he's won 5 in a row. He deserves it.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't think Chad will stand in his way. And that's just kind of how it works. Now, should he lose, then that's when Mendez steps in. But as far as them even having to fight each other, you can ask them, and they'll probably just give you some textbook answer, but they're not even worried about it because they know that so many things can change. Until the actual contract comes in and they have to fight each other, then it's a deal. And they learn off of precedence. This is something that may have even split TJ and Uriah. Hell, I can't even remember all the things they used to tell me. But it basically used to be anywhere from we'd never fight to we'd only fight for a world title to now they fucking can't stand each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyway, going back to Mo and Roy, I don't think if you ask Mo or anybody about it, they'll give you anything, any sort of an answer that's worth anything.
Yeah, that's
because
what I say, yeah.
Mo has this fight versus Bader, and if Nelson and Mo win, they both have to be healthy enough to continue, and only then, when the fight camp has started and when the fight actually has to happen, will they give you some sort of an answer. It won't be that big of a deal, but I think at that point they'll realize, hey, it's just like sparring. We're just going to go hard. We're going to go 100, versus in sparring, we'll go 70, 80, 90%, whatever. And that'll be that. And then, they're both fighters who are there to make money, and they'll wish each other luck. And some of them can come out of it with no ill will. Others may never be the same. This strikes me as a pairing where there would be no ill will.
Me too. Them more so than others. So I actually completely co-sign with what you say. But I will say this though: I always have sympathy, when it comes to those teammate versus teammate matches, because I think I have to imagine, I should say, that would be the hardest thing, because obviously I've never had to do anything like that, obviously. But I did spend a good amount of time growing up, a good 10 to 15 years in kickboxing and martial arts and stuff like that, and it would suck. There was some, like my buddy Kevin Sanders, shout out to Kevin, probably guy I came up training longest with. Whenever we got paired to spar with each other, it was the worst. It was the most unentertaining matches. We knew each other's we knew each other's tendencies, and it wasn't. We didn't even get to the part where we wanted to, if we had to hurt each other or not, which is a whole another dynamic that these guys have to deal with. Even just friendly competition, whether it's a in-house dojo or for a tournament or something like that. Yeah, I can't imagine for a fight. So I always sympathize with those guys when they have to suck it up and do those kind of things.
Let's take our last break, and then we will finish up and get on out of here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We'll be right back after this break.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
I want to thank all of our guests for the week, including Jay Haran in studio on Monday, Derek Lewis CB Dalloway, Bilal Muhammad in studio on Wednesday, along with his cousin Aska. Malky Kawa called in on Wednesday's show. Jared Gordon, we talked to him yesterday, and today we had a co-host for the first hour of Michael Chiesa. Now, this weekend we have some events going on. Bellator 194 tonight with Matt Mitrione versus Roy Nelson as they try and secure their semifinal spot in the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. Also on Sunday, UFC Fight Night 126, headlined by Yancy Medeiros versus Cowboy Cerrone. That fight's not going to suck. Can't wait to watch that one. And, you know, throughout the weekend, we have our writers, videographers at both spots, Uncasville, Connecticut for Bellator and Austin, Texas for the UFC. So keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend. Also, our Facebook page for MMA Junkie is facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. A lot of the stories, if you like the page, you'll get access to them right there, even before they get on the front page, because we basically provide a link for you. And of course, that's where you can grab the MMA Junkie Radio Show Monday through Friday, live 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. So, Danny, what plans do you got? You got any concerts or anything like that going on?
Well, this weekend I'm going down to Philly, practice a little bit, and kind of writing the new EP and stuff like that. So nothing this week. Next week I think is our last week before we have like shows almost every weekend.
Oh wow,
very cool. All right, so you got to button things up this week.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do a lot of stuff at the same time, so it's like we're trying to write new stuff, but we don't want to put out any of the new stuff until we're ready with it, so it's like a lot of organization, I guess, and we're not good at that.
What do you got going on, Dan?
Oh, I'm missing my band days here in Danny Talk over there, but no, just be resting, recovering when I can, and then enjoying the fights this weekend, of course. We'll see you on Twitter. Follow me at DanTomMMA. Interact there, but then getting ahead for the next week. So, you know, just business as usual, and looking forward, marking my calendar for that UFC 223. Today's show got me excited for it.
Yeah. I basically I'm the Lone Ranger because Juliet's in California.
That's right.
Goes is in Texas. So I'll be here. Myself and Max. I got a rehab today. They were pushing me pretty hard on one-legged lunges and squats. I'm like, fuck, I couldn't even do them when I had two healthy legs. Why are you guys pushing me to do them this way? But you got to do what you got to do. Keeping an eye over there just to see who's what. The Brandon Rios crew just walked by. Did not see Danny Swift Garcia's crew. So we struck out with Angel Garcia. But I'll tell you what, that's still going to be a really fun fight to watch. And it's on Showtime, so it's not a Showtime pay-per-view or anything. But if you have the Showtime channel, check it out. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, as Brandon Rios and Danny Garcia mix it up in the main event. The winner could get an eventual shot at Keith Thurman, who's the world champion in that weight class. Now, there's some controversy there with they may strip Thurman, and it could be that the winner of this fight is eligible to fight for a vacant title, maybe against Sean Porter or someone else. I know I'm confusing you all, but those are welterweights out there in the boxing world, 147 pounds. Their welterweight is pretty much equivalent to MMA's featherweight. Big shout out in the Facebook chat to Jay DeMello, Eddie Washington, Kate Price, Raider Kella, I already said Jay DeMello, Kate Trombley, Tim Dunn, Mark Sidey, Cindy and Tyler McGuire, Danny Olkers, Gavin McCarran, Tony Polidio, Samuel Medina, Joshua Jimenez, Ramundo Martin, Frederick Taikeli from Norway. Oh, very cool. And we will be back, obviously, on Monday. No goes. He'll still be gone. But myself and Dan will hold things together as we recap the weekend's action. All right, folks. We are out of here. Don't forget, if you missed any part of the show, the SiriusXM app has you covered in HD quality and commercial free. That'll be up pretty soon after the show's ending. If you ever want to catch the video, you can also go to youtube.com/MMA Junkie Video, where you can also catch the show live. So that's it. For Danny and Dan, I'm George. I want you all to have a nice weekend and go out there and be champions.
Almost holds down the drain.